we're taking the time to build the relationship until the client is ready rather than us closing. The client is closing. The client's giving us the cues that they're ready to proceed, because we're creating a sense of momentum and a sense of compulsion.
Warning: Damian Andrews' growing revenue and profit, if implemented, will put more money in your pocket. Please use with caution.
Welcome to Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit with international speaker and revenue and growth specialist, Damian Andrews. This is your source for practical, usable, and simple action steps that you can do every day to put more money in your pocket. And now, the host of Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit, Damian Andrews.
And the crowd cheers wildly to the trumpeting blast of elephants sliding through the eyes of needles. This is Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit, the program that deals with things that... You start that again. And the crowd cheers wildly to the trumpeting blasts of elephants sliding through eyes of needles. This is Damian Andrews' Growing Revenue and Profit, the program that deals with all things that put more cash in your pocket. This is the show that handles your revenue riddles, your profit puzzles, your operational oddities, and your culture conundrums. I am the one, the only Damian Andrews, and on this show is the amazing, the awesome Peter Anthony. Now, Peter is an expert at influencing customers, stakeholders, and donors and winning the pitches to them. He has over 40 years of experience in sales across multiple industries, working with national and multinational organizations such as IBM. And Peter is also the author of Collabradabra, The Magic of Collaborative Conversations. Welcome to my good friend, Peter Anthony.
G'day, Damien. G'day, listeners. Welcome from Manly in Sydney, Australia.
Exactly, and it's nice to be talking to a fellow Aussie. G'day, mate. How you going? Aussie. Oi, oi, oi.
Oi, oi, oi. I just said the cork's dangling from my hat, and I'll be away. Put some more shrimps on the barbie.
Exactly. All right, Peter, let's get right to the nitty-gritty in business. Is it hard? Is it really as hard as people say it is?
It is. It's very, very difficult if you don't have the client at the center of the business. When your client's at the center of the business, business goes well. It's a little like a romantic relationship or a marriage. When your wife is at the center of the relationship, things tend to go well. When the client's in the center of your business relationship, that's when the profitable growth begins to happen.
So what you're talking about there is that business, if I'm hearing right, business is not hard. It's the focus that you need to have right, and then it becomes easier. Is that right?
It does. And most organizations I meet with, when I meet with board members and CEOs, commercial directors and sales directors, the first thing I hear about what a great company they are. I hear about what a great product or service they sell. I hear about what great people they've got. They're the first three things I hear. And I rarely hear anyone talking about the client and all the good experience and all the good research, most recently from Wharton Business School, that did a study of 50,000 companies and did 75,000 face-to-face interviews around the globe, looking at this whole idea of client centricity off the back of some work that had been done at Harvard Business School. And what they found was that the organizations with the clients most at the center of their business had four outstanding outcomes. They had the profitable sales growth, which we're all after, had growth in equity. So if you're a shareholder in the company, that equity growth was apparent. had a constructive internal culture that people wanted to be part of, and also this whole relationship of client advocacy. Because the interesting thing I find when I talk to sales organizations is they talk a lot about client satisfaction and how satisfied their clients are. The concerning thing from the Wharton work was that 80% of clients that are satisfied with their supplier are happy to use somebody else.
Mm.
So you're not looking for satisfaction. You're looking for advocacy, which means you think of your client and your client organization as being your biggest sales organization. You want clients that are willing to advocate you internally in their organization, to be sponsors of you, and also to talk to their friends, because we know that people hang out in tribes. People usually mix with people just like them. So if I'm a sales director or a managing director in a big client organization, I'm likely to know people just like me. So you're looking for that advocacy relationship. But when you start looking at doing that, that's when business gets a lot easier. The more the client's in the center, the more you get those 4 big outcomes.
What do you think makes that really different? Because, I mean, we know word of mouth is the best form of advertising. And you talked about that. I mean, you mentioned 80%, and immediately the 80-20 rule popped into my head, the Pareto principle. And it seems like this, when we're talking about business being hard, and as you mentioned before, you go straight in there and you listen to most sales pitches, and it's all about me, 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 me. How great am I?
Yeah, yeah.
What is it? What aren't people getting?
What people aren't getting is that if you think about uh, if you think about revenue, you think, well, maybe I'm looking for more clients,
Hmm.
or maybe my client book's full, that I'm looking for more profitability from my existing client base.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're the two typical problems that I come across with clients that I'm working with. And you think, okay, let's, rather than sit in a boardroom and think about what we should do, why don't we ask the clients? And I've been running these surveys for my clients for the past 9 years,
Yeah.
asking them questions like, how do you experience us now?
Mm-hmm.
And preferably, how would you like to experience us on a whole range of really important indexes? And the number one thing that comes out, Damien, in terms of what clients are looking for, is they're looking for someone or an organization that uniquely understands their needs and their environment. And what we found is the more unique that understanding is, the more they're willing to pay for it. So they're not looking for a shiny new product, not looking for someone in a shiny new suit. They're not looking for a nice new CRM system. What they're looking for, before they're looking at people or products or services, they're looking at you as their partner, if you like. They're looking for you to uniquely demonstrate that you understand their needs and their environment. That's number one. And they're willing to pay for that. They're willing to pay for that.
That's interesting that you mentioned that, because, and from your experience with sales, when you talk about sales, I mean, you see a lot out there on the sales side of things where they talk about, get your pitch right, and spend a lot of time doing that. Now, I know this is a rhetorical question for you, but this is for the audience. When you go in and do sales, I know you don't go in there with a sales pitch in mind. You more about listening from knowing you.
Yes, absolutely. Listening and being curious.
Mm.
And if you think about, I guess the sales piece is what leads to the pitching piece, and the quality of your pitch is really based on the quality of your understanding of what that unique understanding the client's looking for. Now, if you think of a pitch, the best way to pitch, as we all know, is with a pitch story. So what you're doing is you're saying, you are reaffirming with the client, here's what you're looking for in terms of your organization from our understanding, and here's why you want it in your organization, but there's something getting in your way, a classic story structure. And here's how our organization, our approach, our consulting service, our product, whatever it is that we might be selling, here's how we, with that unique understanding of you, can help you achieve that goal. So we're using a story structure, and we're beginning by highlighting how we uniquely understand their environment. And that's when they get engaged. And that's when you get the narrative transportation impact of having a story structure in how you're pitching. But you can't pitch like that unless you had that unique understanding, unless you're building those relationships further upstream, if you
Mhm.
like. Does that make sense, Damien?
Makes complete sense from that perspective. To get that unique understanding, I mean, because when I sort of look at the standard process that people go through, they go, well, what's my unique value proposition? We hear that talked a lot. And then they build a sales
Yeah.
pitch around that going, oh, we do this, we do that, we do this, we do that. And they've got this whole process. And I've been through that in my younger days. That was what I was taught as well.
Yeah.
Then you walk into the client going, I can do this, I can do that, I can do this. And I haven't had a chance to speak at all yet. So
Yes,
what
yes.
so what is the process to get to this unique understanding? What do you do to get to that unique understanding?
Well, it was a problem I struggled with for a while, Damien, because I was teaching selling and sales consulting and using traditional selling, and I knew from my own experience at IBM that traditional selling didn't work because I joined IBM as a young recruit fresh out of university. I was given a senior mentor to work with, and he and I sold quite well. And then I hit what IBM calls sales school. I got taught to sell, if you
Yeah.
like, and the more I sold, the less people bought from me. Right.
Funny
Which is really
that.
weird. I was doing all these like classic openings and using all
Yeah.
these open and close questions and all the power closes and assumptive closes, and I learned it all really well.
Yeah.
But it felt weird for me, and it felt weird for the clients because you think, well, and you feel like, I mean, when you are being sold to, or when you feel like you're being sold to, weird things happen. Like you distance yourself in terms of
Mm.
relationship, you get skeptical of what you're being told, you put downward pressure on prices. So if that's what you like, I'd say knock yourself out with traditional selling.
Yeah.
And anyone with any experience in business knows it doesn't work. So then I was asked, well, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
Right? What does work? And that was when I came across this idea of I remember I was on my way to the UK and I was doing some work in Cairo for a big client of ours.
Yeah.
Running, and this was a great. I won't go into too much detail here, but this organisation was a global shipping transport organisation. I was sitting in this workshop in Cairo
Yeah.
with these 8 ex-ship captains, right, that
Yeah.
were running this cargo business, looking at how MG cars were completely knocked down and put into crates and moved all around the world, smoking cigars and having whiskies at morning tea, right? It was great guys to work
As you
with.
do.
I was like crying from cigar smoke in the room with these guys.
Yeah.
And we're talking about this, like how we engage the clients. And I said, look, traditional selling doesn't work. And then one of these guys popped up and said, why don't we try the opposite? Why don't we workshop the opposite and see what that looks like? And that was the beginning of this idea, which is like, okay, if selling doesn't work, maybe the opposite works. Maybe rather than closing sales, we're opening up relationships and look at it that way. And we're taking the time to build the relationship until the client is ready rather than us closing. The client is closing. The client's giving us the cues that they're ready to proceed because we're creating a sense of momentum and a sense of compulsion based on that unique understanding of their business need and the compulsion the client has to make something change in a beneficial way for them. They get the sense that, hey, we can partner them in making it happen. Then the client starts closing the sale. Right, the client starts closing the relationship because they
Isn't
want
that a
that
wonderful
benefit.
thing?
Yeah. The client's closing because the client knows, the client gets the sense that, hey, this guy uniquely understands what I'm looking for, and they are uniquely positioned to help me deliver on this next stage of my business, and I'd like to work with them. And everything gets turned on its head.
Yeah.
I called it collaboration then. I started developing workshops around this space then, and master classes. for sales directors and his client-centric approach. And I thought, Damien, there's magic in this collaboration. It's like abracadabra. And I thought, Collabradabra.
I love that term, Collabradabra. It's so awesome.
Collabradabra. It's the magic of collaboration. And I thought, yes.
I used to watch I Dream of Jeannie, so I can relate to that.
Oh yeah, when he rubbed the bottle and Barbara Eden appeared. Barbara Eden?
Yeah, Barbara Eden.
I think it was Barbara Eden. Yeah, that was yeah. You could rub the genie bottle and your wish is my command.
But it's pretty much like that, isn't it? When you got Collabradabra, when you're working with people, and as you said, they're selling themselves then.
Yes, they are, and it's not just the conversation piece. It's the piece about having a relationship where you have conversations with clients about what a preferable relationship looks like for you and them, and then building your sales team, building the organization around making that relationship more preferable. Rather than sitting in a boardroom guessing, you're actually engaging the clients in that relationship, and even just having that conversation with your clients, saying, look, Bob, we're very keen to make this relationship more preferable for you. Would you mind spending an hour in a workshop with us, just helping us understand how we can make that happen? That's for the big clients. For the smaller ones, you do like online surveys where you say, look, Jack, we're very keen to make this work as well as we can for both of us, make it more preferable for you. Would you mind taking 10 minutes just to complete this online survey? It's not a satisfaction survey. What it is on the key markers of the relationship, working out how do they experience you now, and ideally how would they like to experience you. Then you've got something to collaborate around. You're building a better relationship. That's where it begins. That's where it starts.
And that's the common theme that you've been talking about, and since we've known each other, is that this Collabradabra, collaboration, building a relationship, listening. And as you just mentioned there, what I heard was you said, you're not guessing anymore. Now, from that perspective, because a lot of times, and I remember the CEO of carsales.com.au, for the overseas listeners, it's Australian car sales, obviously, and it's in the title. But was talking about when they started that business, they didn't really have everything sorted out. They actually didn't have a lot sorted out. And they took it to market and got the feedback from the market and then adapted it to suit what the customer needed and wanted. And from that perspective, if you're asking questions, you can then work out what it is they want and adapt to suit. Is that what you're talking about?
It's funny you should mention car sales, and this wasn't set up.
Oh, really?
So the listeners,
I'm wondering where this is going now. I'm curious.
Car sales were and are a client of mine.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
I started working with car sales. I started working with Vanya and car sales probably 10 or 11 years ago with Penny and Vanya. And they embraced that approach and they very much took that on board. So I won't take the credit for their success.
You can take the credit. I mean, the butterfly effect.
I very much part of that thinking, part of that approach.
Wow.
And you'll find the most successful organizations do think like that. And then the question becomes, well, if I'm keen to do that, the next question becomes, well, how do I go about doing it?
Yeah.
How do I go about doing it in my particular market, whether I'm in engineering or aviation, or whether I'm selling audiences like car sales do to their clients, or whether I'm selling a CRM application or I'm selling photocopiers. It's all the same. It's all the same idea, if you like, but it executes different with different client sets in different industries, because some sales are very long term, like some of the engineering firms I've worked with. If they're responding to a big tender or a big engineering need, it can take a year or 2 years before something's closed. So a lot of moving parts, or they're bidding and pitching for like big pieces of work, maybe from Department of Defence. If you've got smaller deals, like more mid-market and smaller market deals, you might have a lot more volume and velocity in that pipeline. But if you think all sales come down to think, okay, what's my pipeline? What's my 90-day pipeline? And I need two things in my pipeline. I need a volume of high quality opportunities in my pipeline, but I need velocity. I need them moving through the pipeline relatively quickly to closure.
Yeah.
Now, uh, once you've got something compelling in the relationship that the clients are very keen to capitalize on, you'll find the clients are just as willing and able to drive that opportunity as you are. Because you want the bigger opportunities, you want more of them, and you want them working through your pipeline a little faster. And that's when the revenue happens. That's how it translates into revenue, if you like.
What
Yeah.
about taking that step further? Because it seems to me a lot of the focus in the sales books that I've read and the sales training that I've seen and been part of, most of it's focused at the front end, how to get that initial sale, how to get that client. Very little that I've read about talks about the lifetime value of the client. And it seems,
Yes.
yeah. So where does
Yeah.
that? Because when you look at that and you go, well, you spend so much time on this sale, you get the sale, and it's almost like the client's discarded. Now, it takes a lot of effort to get that. And if you create, actually, if your focus is different on the lifetime value of the sale of the client, all of a sudden that changes the nature of, well, for me, it did anyway, change the nature of how I approach things. What's your philosophy in that space?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's the lifetime value of individual clients. And when I started my business, in 1998, I still have two clients who are exactly the same. One major food company that's the same client I've had since 1998, and one individual has moved he moved from Nestle. He then went to Microsoft. He then went to McDonald's, and now he is working at Apple. He's the same person, and that relationship, or both, have been very valuable. You think, well, lifetime value of clients, obviously you're maintaining relationship, expecting them to move around, either move upwards in the organization or move upwards outside the organization. You're also thinking of taking that understanding that you've got from how to make that relationship more preferable to your current clients and moving it back up the pipeline to your marketing messages and your avatars. And there's this classic debate which is still going on now, which I saw again this morning, between sales and marketing. I was in a meeting with the sales director and the marketing director, and they're not getting along. They're talking different languages, right?
Oh God, yeah, okay.
Which
sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
which is pretty typical. I would say where they're from, but it's pretty typical. And the reason for that is that if you think of, like, we understand. We've done our work. We understand what a preferable client relationship looks like, and what how they want to be treated in terms of relationship. We can feed that back into our marketing avatars in terms of where we market, how we market, and what we say in the marketing messages. Because we're talking as if we are the client that we now have. Because we know in each industry we work in, only a certain amount of clients are in a buying window at a certain amount of time.
Yeah.
So you're not working with every client in your industry every day. Even people like Coles and Woolworths haven't got every shopper in the store every day.
No.
They're going through their buying windows, right? So you think, okay, if I'm in my buying window in November, what do I need to be told now, or how do I need to be communicated now? Well, that organization sounds like they're really client-centric. They're really focused on understanding what clients like me are looking for. When I'm ready for a relationship like that in November or October, I'll be reaching out to them because I like the way they're messaging me. I like that brand. I like how they're the client is at the center of what they're doing. And you go.
I was going to say, is what you're talking about there, that's top of mind awareness. So you've got a plan. You're going, okay, I've got a sale and I know the window is going to be open at some point. Well, you might not know exactly when that is, but now what you're doing, you've got a plan ahead where you're creating top of mind awareness. So when their sales windows opens, they're thinking of you. Is that what you're talking about?
Exactly. I mean, the easiest example you can think of is the number one car brand in the world, which is Toyota. I worked with Toyota when I was working in the advertising business. They were one of our biggest clients,
Yeah.
and they do and always have spent one of the largest advertising and brand building budgets in the world. And
Right.
and the reason they're doing that is that, oh, what a feeling Toyota is reminding it, because when I'm not going to be buying a Toyota today or tomorrow or next week or next month,
Mm.
I might be buying one in 6 months, but they're keeping Toyota top of mind for me. So when I'm
Mm.
ready to purchase a car, I'm going to be walking into a Toyota dealership in November or December or even next year. It's still top of mind.
Yeah.
And you've got organisations like Mazda and Hyundai chasing them, attempting to do something similar. But an organisation like Toyota have got that space. And what's fascinating about them? Who do they focus on primarily in all their advertising? Not the car, but the driver. At the end of every ad, it's the driver jumping up and saying, "Oh, what a feeling! I've driven a Toyota. I love this car." It's about the driver.
Yeah.
It's about the car. It's about the experience the driver gets with the car. So
Mm.
it's very smart the way the way they position that brand, and you get sick of hearing about it, but that's because it's in your head, and that the number one car brand in the world, and one of the reasons is the way they think about how they advertise. You think, well, what can I learn? I mean, we know that success leaves tracks, right? What can
Yeah.
I learn from? Well, I'm going to think about having my client at the center of how I market and the brand that I build, and market a client-centric brand. So when my client is in the buying window or the pre-work's been done, marketing's already warmed them up with the appropriate message. So when they come into that sales cycle with us, they're getting a consistent, valuable experience. And then we can broaden and deepen the relationship by showing how we can uniquely understand their particular needs. We don't understand everyone's needs until we meet them and really understand them, because everyone's got unique needs in a unique environment. And that's when you start crafting a compelling value proposition that the clients are willing to pay for. And that's when the revenue happens.
Mm. The key point I heard from that as well when you're talking about it, and I love that you referenced Toyota. As you know, I host a radio show as well, and we did a flashback to different commercials. We did to different ads and the music that was in there, and Toyota did an ad where they used "Spirit in the Sky," the song "Spirit in the Sky," and then yeah, the older gentleman, the dad that had died, and he's searching as a ghost, searching through the house for his keys to his Toyota Hilux. It was a really cool ad. But
Yeah.
from that perspective, I want to take that a little bit deeper, because you talk about finding what's unique about their need. But when we take that deeper, what they did there, and what really good ads from what I've seen have, is it's not just the need, but it's more about the benefit, that what they get from it. So, oh, what a feeling! It's a deeper sense of connection. Can you expand on that for how important that is, as opposed to what we're talking about? Those benefits over features.
Yes, well, the ultimate benefit is emotional well-being and security.
Mm.
And if I'm the CEO or the managing director of a big potential client organization, I'm worried about something. I've either got a problem I need to fix, or I've got an
Mm.
opportunity that I need to explore and develop and fully capitalize on. And it could be my
Yeah.
livelihood in terms of my shareholding, my livelihood, my family's future that depends upon my ability to execute this. So I have some concerns, and there's some great research done recently with the classic rat inside the tube, and that they put these rats inside these transparent tubes, and
Yep.
that they at one end of the tube they put the smell of cheese and just saw how fast the rats move towards the cheese. Did you see this one? How
Yeah.
fast the rats move towards the cheese, and then they also tested how fast the rats ran away from the smell of a cat at the other end of the
Yeah.
cheese. They got the smell of the cheese and the smell of the cat, and they're running faster away from the pain or from the cat than they
Mm.
were towards the pleasure of the cheese. So you think you are creating, as much as anything, an emotional value proposition with the client.
Mm.
You're building a relationship where they think, yeah, because you're selling promises for money, right?
Mm.
If you were saying, yes, it will be better in the future when you go with us, when you pay us, and it will be better. clients are always buying a promise, unless you're selling an ice cream. When you
Yes.
get the ice cream pretty much straight, but even then you're buying a promise. You
Mm.
haven't licked it until after you bought it, right? So
Yeah, we eat ice cream because it feels good.
it feels good. You don't get to lick the ice cream until after you bought it, right?
Yeah.
Now, if you think of big commercial transactions, the client
Mm.
agrees and starts paying you before they get the full benefit of whatever
Mm.
the service or product that is that you're selling. I mean, I was doing work with a big photocopier company that was, they call themselves the document management company. It's about managing documents, not selling photocopies. Now, their ultimate outcome was like 12 months after the original deal was sealed. It was going to
Yeah.
take that long for the full benefit. So I'm buying a promise. So I need to trust you. And
Mm.
I need to not just trust you as an individual, but trust that your solution is going to work in my environment for
Yeah.
me and for my organization. So it's as much an emotional sell as it is a technical transactional sell. And a lot of technical people, like engineers, like IT professionals, like a lot of people working in CRM, are very gifted technically. They're often introverted technocrats that are awesome technically, but aren't great at on the relationship level. So
Mm.
it's about helping them translate that technical knowledge into something that people are willing to invest in terms of a relationship with you. That's a long answer to a short question.
No, but you're getting to, or there was a couple of answers there to questions I hadn't asked yet, so that was pretty intuitive of you. So we're collaborating very well.
I'm collaborating. I'm rubbing that
Exactly.
bottle. Yeah.
Exactly. You've rubbed that bottle very well. Got these pictures of Barbara Eden in my head very much so now.
Oh, God, I don't want those pictures in my head.
But from what you're talking about there, and because I was going to ask that question from a sales perspective about creating that trust, because really what you're doing, the sales is the whole point of where the resistance is are you going to deliver what you say you're going to deliver? Is that,
Yes.
and is that the part, the hurdle, when we talk about overcoming objections? So to me, I've always looked at it, I'm not trying to overcome objections. What I'm trying to do is show that I can actually do what I say I'm going to do. Is that, one way to look at it?
It is. And I'd be concerned if I'm attempting to overcome an objection because I'm thinking, well, I'm still I'm
Interesting.
still in a buyer seller relationship. I'm
Yeah.
attempting to overcome an objection. The key thought here is to co-create the proposal.
Ah.
Uh, so rather than thinking like a lot of salespeople think like waiters, like they'll say, here's the menu, right?
Yeah.
Why don't you pick which one you like? I'll explain the specials, and then I'll bring it to you, right?
Yeah.
And I'll be really, really nice
Yeah.
about it, and you might tip me.
Yeah.
Um, uh, what I'm talking about really is moving into the kitchen and talking to the chef
Mm.
about working together to co-create a meal that is quite unique. Because
Yeah.
you're using the chef's expertise and the chef's ingredients, and you've got the diner's expertise in terms of what a unique and valuable meal means for them or for that family or for that particular couple that are
Mm.
having that meal, and creating something quite outstanding and doing it special every single time. Now, if you go to very fine, I went to a fine dining restaurant of all places in the mountains of Ubud several years ago, pre-COVID, with my wife. We had a similar experience. That had a first-class chef in this restaurant. He actually owned the restaurant and the resort that we were staying at. And it was like that. If there was no menu, you just talked to the chef about what it was you were interested in having, and he created something special for you, and it was special for each couple in that
Mm.
resort. So it's more like that. So if I'm making a proposal and you're objecting to it, something's wrong because we are co-creating this. And if
Mm.
you are my internal sponsor, you want this as much to happen as I do because your success in your organization is more important to you than it is to me because
Mm.
because your success, it's your organization, it's your family, it's your money, it's your equity, it's your shareholding, it's your investment, it's your private equity that you've got invested. That's super important to you if you're my client. So what I'm doing is I'm co-creating something with you, not selling you anything. I'm an
Mm.
expert in you're an expert in your business, I'm an expert in mine. And together we collaborate to create something that didn't exist before. It's a very special combination.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. And that's where I was wondering from, and I challenge that ever really existed, but they talk about, you take these steps and take the buyer along, and you're overcoming objections and you're doing all this kind of thing.
Ah.
But to me, I think
Did you mention Challenger then? Did you mention Challenger then?
no, but
No, no,
if
I think you
that's what
mentioned
came
Challenger.
across.
Okay. No, I just thought I heard the
Challenger.
Challenger model.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh no, no, I wasn't mentioning that, but and it probably falls into that category where the whole point is you make these little steps, get them across the line, and they go and they're getting excited, and then you hit them. It's almost like a bait and switch type thing where you're going, getting them all excited, and then they're coming. But I think people were always sophisticated enough to know when that was happening, but I think even more so now, people are reticent. Where I'm going with that is, people say, oh, you've got to create this value first before you get to price. And I think,
Yeah.
from my perspective, from what I've seen, we all know that. Anyone that's reasonably in business knows their field. And if you're spending so long getting to the point at the end of the day, what is the value you're offering and how much is it going to cost? Whereas, because I come in the opposite way, I go, it's going to cost this, and this is what you get. Because I'm dealing.
Yeah.
Because then we've got that out of the way. Then it's like it's like that first first kiss on when you mess up, and you're all this. And I know they do that with actors in film, because I had a film and television background. They come in, then they've got this passionate scene that the actors have got to do together. They shoot that first straight up because they get it out of the way. So that all that tension is gone, so they can just relax and act with each other, and then they come back and film it at the end. But it's
Okay.
yeah, so it's and that's where I find that relationship. I had that this morning when I met with a client we're talking about, and I said, this is what we're talking about. I went bang, 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 and those 3 points. And then I elaborated on that. I saw them relax, and the deal was done. They just physically saw it and said, okay, we're talking, you know what this is about. And then we had the conversation. They go, yeah, that's all workable.
It is. It is. Yeah, that's a great example, and it's an example of when you think about a collaborative approach to building revenue. It's the opposite of traditional selling. Traditional selling says you work towards the close, and after you close, you mention the budget. And typically you'll have like a 1 hour presentation. You'll have like 60 PowerPoint slides that are very crowded, 5 or 6 people presenting them. And then the final slides talk about the budget, right? the money at the end. I, like you, would recommend suggest money at the beginning. As soon as you get you think, well, a scope like this would typically be in the range of $400,000 or $500,000 for a project like this over 12 months, or a building like this would typically be in the area of $400 or $500 million, whatever that number might be for you. To get it out there, just to do 2 things. One is to clarify whether that's the number they were thinking of. But if they weren't thinking about that, think, well, they've got to start building that value early. And for those bigger sales, engage all of the key stakeholders, because you might have one person who's an internal sponsor that really wants you to win in that larger organization. But typically there's other people involved, other more senior people involved that need to have their fingerprints on it. And you think as you understand that need more, you're building more of that value and building more of that budget. Or you might get partialed out straight away. You might say, look, that's never going to happen. We will never be able to afford $500,000. It's not that. So it's a deal breaking no. You want that early before you invest all that time. Invest all that time and energy and resources. You want to know relatively early in your opportunity planning. You want to know there's a compelling event from the client's end that's compelling them to act and do something. You need to have an internal stakeholder that wants you to win. you need to understand who the major decision makers are and what their criteria are, and an acceptance of a budget ballpark. You want all those four things in the first stages of the opportunity. Otherwise, you're dreaming.
Yeah.
A bit like the castle. Tell him he's dreaming, son. How much for the jousting sticks? $100, Dad.
Yeah.
Tell him he's dreaming, son. I mean, that's what I say to people. I say, show me your opportunities. And I think you're dreaming. Like, half of these opportunities, if you haven't had those conversations, you're dreaming about them closing.
Well, then let's say I want to take that a step further from the perspective of when we're looking at, because and that was a conversation that I had with another client I was talking about in the pre-show, where we were talking about it, and they go, we're flat out. We don't want any more clients. Pretty much. We don't want, and we've also got a criteria of client that we want. We don't, anyone under this value is not for us. And where does that sit? Because I tend to see a lot of people in sales trying to get every sale, everyone across the line, and they might not fit. And there was a business that I know, the owners, there was 3 owners that had a plumbing business that was doing 15 million. They were flat out, no time for themselves, that kind of thing. They decided to get rid of clients that didn't quite fit. They dropped their revenue by a third, so it went down to $10 million. What they found was their profit went up amongst having more time. How difficult is that for people to get, but how important is it to focus on the right type of client?
It's absolutely crucial. I mean, you'll find that most organizations, and I had this again a couple of days ago in breakfast with a potential new client for me, and we talked about the big head and the long tail. And he said, like, the head of his organization was huge, and the tail was unbelievably long. So it was like 2 or 3 very large clients that they were relying on. Then there are hundreds of littler ones on this long tail. And you think, well, how do we go about doing that? Well, what I would recommend is to understand having a variegated service model. It's a bit like, I mean, the best example I can think of, another client I've worked with very closely, which is Virgin and Virgin Velocity. And you think, well, one of the ways that Virgin rewards you for your flying is by treating you better, giving you a better lounge, giving you better food in the lounge, giving you better seats, boarding you earlier. Like, there's a whole lot of benefits that come with that. You're paying more and you get a better level of service. As you pay less, you're more in the cattle class. You're more in the back of the plane. You board last. You get a lounge. It's all those. You think, well, okay, if I'm
bring your own headphones,
if I'm a plumbing business, and this is very close to my heart because my eldest daughter's partner is a carpenter, and I'm teaching him how to grow a carpentry business, right, for himself. And we talk about service level in trades is absolutely crucial, because there's a perception in the marketplace that tradespeople just don't provide great service, and a lot of them don't.
Yeah.
Right. So if you think, okay, what sort of service am I offering to whom? To whom? I think, okay, if I'm a carpenter, or I'm a plumber, or I'm a sparky, or I'm in any major trade, I'm thinking I would like to have my clients at the top end of town, like at the most expensive houses in the city that I'm working in. Okay, so I'm going to over-service those people, create an outstanding level of service, because those people aren't price elastic. They're willing to pay more if I provide better service, if I return phone calls on time, if I arrive on time to appointments, if I come looking like I'm ready to do work for a high net worth individual or family. Look like so I might have those guys. I might have that level of service for my top clients, which is where I would recommend tradespeople focus. But then I might have another service for clients who don't want to pay for that level of service, and it's more an economy class service. But it's obviously economy class. So I might have more economy class clients, making less margin from more people, and have a higher margin service at the top end. I might do both, or I might just do the top end. I recommend always go to the top first. Always go to the top first.
Yeah, definitely.
Always, always go to the top end of town first, because that's when this approach is going to work the best. And if you're a tradie and you want to like have a value proposition at the top end of town, you will make a fortune.
Especially in today's environment, given how much there's lack of tradespeople, and with all that was taken away, and that's globally. That's not just Australia; it's globally.
Yeah, it's globally. It's and think globally. Think about building this business around the world, because once you get it right in one location, those same people have the same plumbing, electrical, carpentry issues in houses all over the world. That's one thing I learned. I thought, who's little old Peter in Manly in Sydney, Australia, consulting to clients in Sydney? Who am I to work in Singapore or Philippines or Cairo or London or New York? It's the same clients with the same problems with the same clients of theirs all over the world, even in Shanghai, China, even in India, even in South Korea. Same for me, same people, same problem, which is great for me. I get to work all over the world. It's awesome. East coast of the US, west coast of the US. If you can build the business, particularly now with the way we work virtually, you can, a bit harder trades-wise, but I'm sure you can set a network of tradespeople up globally to deliver that service for you. You can deliver that globally. And create
franchising, if I recall correctly.
It's the F word.
It's a longer F word, but it's an F word.
Call it franchising. And there's a huge, there's a big business here it was originally called Jim's Mowing, and now Jim's expanded into a whole range of trade-like businesses by doing just like that.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole nother topic. We focused this one on sales. Maybe we can have another session talking about the vision and that kind of thing, because we're running out of time. But if we're going to, it's all part of the same pie. It's all the ingredients in the same pie. Yeah, exactly.
The same pieces, not just like one piece. There's like many pieces that fit together. The great thing is that when you get them working together, the business just purrs. Yeah. And you're not just making revenue, you're making profitable revenue, and you're making profitable revenue easily with clients that love you.
I love that. You're summing it up already, so you're getting ahead of my question again, but that's okay. You can Collabradabra. But yeah, if you had a key takeaway on that, because we have focused on sales pretty much through this, although what would you want the audience to take away from this?
What I want the audience to take away is to think about the way to make profitable revenue easily is to put your client at the center of your business, and think about, how do I go about doing that? How do I go about understanding who my ideal clients are and putting them at the center of my business, and be quite obvious about this. Like, be honest and obvious about this. Hey, the client's the center of our business. This is what we're all about. And you'll find that's when you'll experience the profitable, easy revenue growth, and the clients will experience a level of service or product delivery that they're happy to advocate to other people, advocate internally, and advocate to other organizations just like them. It's the secret sauce. It's the secret sauce. It's the Colonel's 11 herbs and spices.
Exactly. I love it. I love it.
It's finger
I haven't had lunch yet too. I think I'm going to have to go and get some Kentucky Duck.
Kentucky Fried, whatever it is. Yeah,
exactly. Peter, it's always wonderful chatting with you. I always learn so much. I love the collaboration that we have. Thank you for taking the time and sharing this knowledge on sales. I'd love to have another conversation. We can talk about the vision of the business if you're up for that.
Yes, absolutely.
Time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Damien. Thanks, guys.